So thank you, Ryan, for the introduction. I just want to mention a couple of things. My role in this book is I helped to edit this collection of oral histories, but it's really the brainchild of Corinne Gora, who conceived of the idea and is the editor on the front of this book. And I just want to mention that we've got copies of the book for sale here, and there's a mailing list. It's very low traffic. You just hear about events and cool things happening with Voice of Witness. I had a really hard time picking out a narrative to read from this book because of these 16, because every single one, in my opinion, is just really unique and eye-opening. But I decided to choose one tonight that connects the local with the global. And I'm going to read a little bit tonight from the oral history of Beret, Sawanu, Kingston. And I just want to clarify, all of these narratives in Invisible Hands and in our book series are based on interviews recorded, sometimes in some cases over several years, and then they're transcribed, edited, and compiled in these books. So Beret is, in the book he's 48, but I guess he must be 49 by now. He's a nurse and a salesman, originally from Ogoniland in Nigeria. We interviewed him a few years ago in Oakland, where he lives now. In Beret's narrative, he talks about growing up in Ogoniland, which is, for those of you who don't know, it's a region in the southeast of Nigeria, of about 1,000 square kilometers. The Ogoni people have lived there for the past 5,000 years, and he talks about the impact of Shell and Chevron and other oil companies, and who've been extracting oil there since the 50s. He also talks about how how he got involved with the Ogoni resistance movement against what the oil companies were doing to his land, to the people, and the consequences of his activism. Beret was arrested and tortured and narrowly escaped execution by the Nigerian military as a result of his work. So I'm just going to jump first into a little bit about the childhood. He sort of sets a really nice scene for us. I was born April 22nd, 1966 in Kabanga, a village in Ogoniland by the Niger River in Nigeria. Ogoni is a flat land. Some people live in the mountains, some live in the swamp, some near the ocean. But we Ogoni are in the flat land. We don't have hills, mountains, or even rocks. And we don't have the sea. But there are many rivers going through Ogoniland, so it's almost as if we were by the sea. Ogoni is one tribe, but it's made up of different areas and different groups. There's almost 1 million of us now. We have a similar language, but we speak different dialects. What brings us together is a similar ancestry. We come from the same people. Ogoniland is peaceful. We plant cassava, yam, cocoa, plantain. There are palm trees too. We use red palms for oil and big white palms to make palm wine. In Kabanga, when I was a child, we had a green apple tree in the town square. The tree was for everyone. After school, we would hang out by the tree, and when an apple fell, we would race to it. Whoever could grab the fallen apple could keep it. Now, sometimes we stole apples from the tree, but we'd be whipped if caught by the grown-ups, because you weren't supposed to pick the apples straight from the tree. The apples were for everyone in the village. If children picked as many as they wanted, there'd soon be none left. The same tree is still there in the town square today. Generation to generation, it stayed there. So we'd go to the apple tree and wait for an apple to fall, or go to the school grounds to play soccer. And this is how we kept busy. In our village, we had sand floors in the schools. We sat on the ground. There were no chairs or desks. Shell oil actually started drilling in Ogoniland a few years before I was born. But I remember seeing them moving into Kabanga. Surveyors and heavy equipment would come in, and we'd hear the sounds, loud machine noises. First one truck, then many. When I was a child, there was not too much awareness of what the oil companies were doing. When people first heard that Shell was coming to our land, we just expected to meet some white people. We thought of them as interesting visitors. Oh, Shell is coming here today. They're coming to see our land. We were so excited. Then, after they started drilling, we'd see light from the gas flares at night. And at first we were excited about that as well. Look, there is light. There is light. When I was growing up, we would go to the river to swim and fish and bathe and play. We also drank from the river. We didn't have a tap. And it wasn't really safe. Because anything that flows from the rainy season goes into the water. Dead things then end up in the river, as well as the runoff from clothes washing and bathing. And even when I was young, we were already seeing oil runoff in the river. The river was oily and black. We had no idea what to do when we saw the water was polluted with oil. When my grandmother and my mom saw the water, they just said, "What is this?" To drink, we'd just push aside the oil on the surface and then scoop up the water. Fish were dying, though when I was younger we didn't connect that with the oil. We didn't know that pollution was killing our fish, killing the trees, contaminating our water, making us sick. Some people even intentionally drank the crude oil because they said it would help their immune systems, clean out some bacteria and some stuff like that. I remember once when an oil pipe broke and oil spilled out all over the land, some people took some home to try out as cooking oil. So Shell was all around us, building new roads and bringing in big machines to drill, but our villages remained the same. No plumbing, no electricity, no hospitals, no jobs. At the same time, the land and water we needed to support ourselves were becoming toxic. The problem was, in Nigeria, we were a minority. The government didn't care about how we survived. They didn't care about our rivers, about how we grew our food. The government cared about oil. They didn't care about us. So I'm just going to jump a little bit forward to Barry's involvement with the Ogoni resistance movement. He becomes involved in a group called MOSOP, which stands for the Movement for the Survival of the Ogoni People. And it's founded by a man called Ken Saro-Wiwa. Between 1993 and 1994, there were many protests on Ogoni land. Shell halted some of its oil production in response, but for the Ogoni people, things just got worse. There was a lot of violence from the Nigerian government. Many people were getting arrested. Then, on May 21st, 1994, an incident occurred where 4 Ogoni chiefs were found murdered. The Nigerian government immediately blamed the murders on MOSOP and Saro-Wiwa, even though the chiefs were closely allied with him. The next day, May 22nd, a security task force was sent into Ogoniland to arrest everyone associated with MOSOP, claiming that they were searching for the killers. I was arrested in Bori on the 22nd of May, along with many others. Close to midnight, they sent some troops with guns, and they knocked on each person's house and surrounded it. If you tried to escape, they shot you. I later heard they shot 6 people that day, and they arrested Ken Saro-Wiwa and other leaders of MOSOP and charged them with the murders of the Ogoni chiefs. In my case, they knocked at midnight. I was sleeping and I woke up and heard people shouting, "Run, run, run, escape, 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 now!" But before I could get up and dress myself, they had surrounded my house. I was arrested and thrown into a truck with other Ogoni. All of us who'd been arrested were taken in a big truck to the camp. We were thrown together in a large crowd, almost 200 people in a hole in the ground, sort of a well, with a locked grate on top. We only had room to lie down on the floor. We didn't have space to move. To visit the bathroom, we had to be taken out of the hole in chains. Then, early in the morning, they would take us out. They made us start jumping, hopping like frogs. They would make us do all sorts of things to humiliate us. They might make you hop for half a mile down the road while holding your ears. Or they might say, "Everybody crawl on the ground." and you would have to crawl back and forth on the road until they allowed you to stop. I'm just going to stop there. So this is just one of many incredible stories in the book. I can big up this book because I just edited it. These I didn't write these. But do feel free to check out our website, voiceofwitness.org, to find out more about the other books in our series. Inga, our fabulous intern, is here tonight to answer any questions you have about Voice of Witness during the break. And we have books for sale. Sign up on our mailing list. And thank you all for listening to this story.